Our story begins in the dense forest of India, where we witness a gathering of people watching a young woman named Manu. She stands poised with a spear in hand, waiting for a tiger to emerge. As the tiger approaches, intent on attacking a nearby goat, Manu hurls her spear. But rather than killing the tiger, she uses a tranquilizer, preferring to capture it alive. The tiger is placed in a cage, to be released far away. Among the onlookers is a man named Diksad, sent from the city of Jhansi. Struck by Manu's bravery and spirit, he returns to his kingdom and informs the Queen Mother that he has found the perfect bride for the heir to the throne. The next day, he visits Manu's home and formally requests her hand in marriage from the local leader who raised her, even though her father is present. The leader agrees, but insists that Manu must consent first. Meanwhile, the kingdom's soldiers are undergoing training, and their leader encourages them to be strong, unlike women. Manu overhears this and challenges him, demonstrating her fighting skills. She bests him in combat, earning the admiration of Diksad, who is further impressed by her strength and determination. The leader then makes a wager with 3 of his guards, promising a reward to anyone who can disarm Manu. All 3 attack at once, but Manu easily fends them off, showcasing her remarkable skills and control. Later, she mounts an elephant, impressing the leader, who congratulates her and offers her a book, knowing she loves to read. He then informs her of a marriage proposal, but Manu declines, saying she has been raised to be a warrior, not a queen. Despite her reluctance, Manu is eventually persuaded by the leader and her father, who sing a patriotic song about the importance of their country. She agrees to travel to Jhansi for the wedding. As Manu prepares for the wedding, she notices a wild, untamed horse brought by the palace guards. Determined to tame it, she takes control of the horse, further demonstrating her strength. On the other side, the king is also preparing, though his mother advises him to remove his ring, a sign of his bachelorhood, but he refuses. We then meet King Sada, who is seated with a British officer discussing their plans to claim the spoils of war. They observe Manu, riding the wild horse with the grace of a skilled horsewoman. The king is captivated by her, and it's declared that she will be his queen. The wedding ceremony begins, and the king announces that from this day forth, Manu shall be known as Lakshmi, the queen of the palace. Lakshmi spends time with the king, even preventing him from killing a deer in the forest, after which they return to the palace and resume their training. The king presents her with a rare book she had long desired. One day, the king invites her to sit in the throne room, informing her that Commander Jordan will soon arrive to congratulate them on their marriage. When Jordan arrives at the market, everyone bows in respect. Anyone who refuses is harshly punished. Jordan enters the palace, where all the guards and soldiers bow, except for Lakshmi. Jordan, noticing this, glares at her and remarks that everyone in the city bows in fear of him, and no one dares to defy him. He boasts that he could turn the entire city to ashes in a single day. Lakshmi, undaunted, replies that she fears no one but her creator, and her refusal to bow is not out of disrespect, but a reflection of her own honor and self-respect. Jordan, infuriated, vows that one day she will bow before him, and that the eyes that challenge him will soon be closed. With that, he storms out of the palace. Lakshmi, filled with anger, leaves the palace and rides into the forest on her horse. There, she discovers 2 people tied to a tree, who tell her that a man named Sangaram is responsible for their predicament. Determined to confront this injustice, Lakshmi rides to the village where Sangaram resides. She places her sword to his throat, but the villagers quickly intervene, explaining that she has misunderstood the situation. Sangaram tells her that ever since colonial rule began, the village has suffered greatly, and he has been struggling to provide food for everyone. He declares that he does not recognize her as queen until she opposes the British oppressors. Returning to the palace, Lakshmi reflects on these words. The king's mother approaches her, advising her to never leave the palace again without guards. But Lakshmi, defiant, tells her that from now on, she will not leave the palace at all, and her place will be in the royal kitchen. She declares that from now on, she will treat the British as enemies. That night, British soldiers, led by Jordan, invade the palace and seize control. They send a message to Lakshmi, informing her that they intend to take over the entire city, and that if she resists, they will destroy the palace and fight her with all their forces. Lakshmi defiantly responds that the palace does not make her a queen. As long as the people support her, she can accomplish anything. She then leaves the palace with her child, followed by the entire populace. Jordan is enraged by this and sets fire to the library, further straining the already tense relationship between the Indians and the British. Major uprisings against the British begin to break out across the region. The British respond by displaying their military might, ruthlessly suppressing any Indian resistance. In the midst of this turmoil, a rebel group storms Jordan's palace, led by Sangaram. They kill Jordan and capture his wife and child, planning to execute them as well. Lakshmi learns of this and rushes to stop them. She intervenes, arguing that women and children have no place in this conflict, and to harm them would be a massacre. One of the soldiers agrees and begins to return the captives. However, on the way back, the group is ambushed by a band of traitorous Indians, led by Sada. They kill the guards and burn the British women and children alive. Sada then meets with the British commander, falsely claiming that Lakshmi and Jaz were responsible for the massacre. The commander, furious, immediately orders that a message be sent to the best British general, named Rose, to deal with the situation. That night, as the bodies of the children and women are being buried, Rose arrives, fully aware of everything that has transpired. He states that Sada orchestrated the massacre to provoke a war, but he plans to remain calm until he has annihilated them all. Meanwhile, after the death of Commander Jordan, Lakshmi returns to the palace. However, she keeps receiving messages from Rose, who accuses her of illegally seizing the palace and demands that she leave. Lakshmi, enraged, declares that she will not leave, even if it means starting a war. The next day, Lakshmi meets with Jaz, and they gather all the cannons and troops they have. However, their forces are insufficient to repel the British army. Therefore, Lakshmi calls a meeting with the women of the city, questioning why they aren't participating in the fight just as their children are. She encourages them, saying they have the power to defend their homeland. Inspired, the women cheer her on, chanting her name. That night, Lakshmi instructs the people to bring any metal objects from their homes so they can be forged into swords and shields for defense. Everyone works together, and soon, Lakshmi begins training the women herself. Despite the lengthy training process, the women's skills improve significantly. At the same time, the British army is planning their assault on the palace. One day, a group of rebels arrives, asking to join Lakshmi's forces, declaring they will fight with all their might. Lakshmi agrees, emphasizing that the most important thing now is their country. The scene then shifts to the army, now stronger and more capable. They devise a plan where each soldier must take down 3 enemy soldiers, believing that this will secure their victory. The next day, the British forces approach the palace and surround it, leading to an intense battle between the two armies. Cannon fire erupts, but the palace walls are incredibly strong and not easily destroyed. Commander Rose then comes up with a strategy to concentrate their cannon fire on a single spot, the palace temple. They execute the plan successfully, but then stop the cannon fire, fearing that they might destroy the temple. With no other options, they decide to rely solely on breaching the wall. Lakshmi, seeing the situation, says she has a solution. She opens the palace gates, and a group of soldiers led by Lakshmi herself emerges with cannons. They engage the British forces in battle, advancing until they can fire back with their cannons. Lakshmi is knocked down but rises again, launching a fierce attack on the commander. She manages to capture him, dragging him across the ground by his leg. However, he pulls out a knife and cuts the rope, all while Lakshmi looks at him with disdain. She then retreats back to the palace. Meanwhile, the British forces begin to fall back. Sada offers to help them, revealing the weakest point in the palace defenses. They prepare their largest cannon and launch a night attack on the palace. The cannon fire strikes the weakest wall, creating an opening for them to enter. Inside the palace, Sada has planted a group of traitors who begin killing Lakshmi's soldiers. Jaz arrives with reinforcements to stop them, but he is wounded and killed in the battle. The situation deteriorates rapidly, and Lakshmi decides to join the fight herself, determined to eliminate the invading forces. She fiercely battles the British soldiers, killing many of them. Amidst the chaos, Lakshmi hears a cry and rushes in to find a group of soldiers searching for her child to kill him. She confronts them and engages in a one-on-one fight, taking down each soldier as they attack her, ultimately saving her child. As the battle rages on, Lakshmi and her supporters devise a plan for her escape. A young woman dresses in Lakshmi's royal garments and, carrying a large amount of gunpowder, exits the palace. The British soldiers spot her and pursue her, believing her to be Lakshmi. Her husband tries to protect her, but is killed. When the British finally capture her, they discover that she is not Lakshmi. Then, in an unexpected turn of events, she detonates the gunpowder, killing all the soldiers present. This allows Lakshmi to escape from the fortress with her child. As she flees, she witnesses people sacrificing their lives for the cause. The next morning, she arrives in the city where her family resides, only to receive news that the city of Jhansi has been destroyed and all the soldiers killed. Enraged, Lakshmi declares that they will continue to fight until they become a united people, stressing the need for unity to liberate their country. Those present feel a deep sense of responsibility for their homeland and decide to join the fight. Meanwhile, Sada is with the British forces, speaking to Commander Rose. He demands a piece of British land to rule as a reward for his loyalty. Rose laughs and tells Sada that someone who betrays his own country cannot be trusted. Having taken what they wanted from him, the British soldiers are ordered to arrest him and throw him in prison. At the same time, Lakshmi and her father are devising a plan to liberate the city held by the colonizers. Lakshmi remarks that the leaders, due to their treachery, are toying with the emotions of the people and the army. The next day, Lakshmi arrives in a city called Juwanir, entering alone. The city's king orders her to be killed so he can deliver her to the British forces. As the soldiers open fire on her, Lakshmi begins to speak, urging them to unite to save their country, condemning their actions as betrayal. Her words awaken the soldiers' consciences, and they allow her to enter the palace. Once inside, Lakshmi confronts the king, forcing him from his throne and warning that he will be killed if he is seen again. She takes control of the city and its soldiers, gaining the support of the people. Shortly after, she repeats this process in another city, successfully adding more soldiers to her forces. Commander Rose, furious with Lakshmi's actions, begins to have nightmares about her every night. He convenes his war council and decides to launch an attack. When Lakshmi learns of this, she gathers her council and declares that they will launch the first strike, catching the British off guard. The next day, dressed in battle armor, Lakshmi prepares to lead her troops. The British forces also prepare for battle, but they are caught off guard by Lakshmi and her army's surprise attack. Rose, filled with anxiety, orders his troops to capture Lakshmi alive. The battle between the two armies begins, with Lakshmi proving to be unstoppable on the battlefield, killing anyone who challenges her. Seeing her strength, Rose orders his soldiers to retreat, and they begin to throw gunpowder around her to keep anyone from approaching. However, Lakshmi continues to fight with all her might, killing many soldiers. As Rose gets closer to kill her, Lakshmi is suddenly shot in the back, but she refuses to surrender, standing up to prevent anyone from claiming they defeated her. Then, she throws herself into the fire, becoming a beacon of hope for her troops. As the battle ends, it is revealed that both sides have retreated, and Commander Rose admits that Lakshmi was the most formidable warrior he had ever faced. 2 years later, the true revolution begins in Lakshmi's name, and the British forces start to withdraw from Indian soil. And that's where our film ends today.